You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Here he goes. Throwing it down. How about a poster? Anthony Davis is on fire.
You're listening to the Pelicans postgame report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
For all things Pelicans, you're listening to the Pelican postgame report on the PRO Media Network. I'm Big Q chiming with you, and we have a very important guest. We got the Advocate's Pelican beat writer, Mr. Scott Kushner, joining the show today to talk Pelicans with us for the duration of the show. What's going on, Mr. Kushner? How you doing today, friend?
I'm doing great. How are you all?
We're doing fantastic, my man. We want to know what's going on with these Pelicans, man. What are they doing? You know, so we're going to talk a little basketball with Mr. Kushner for the next 15 to 20 minutes. We want to get his thoughts and takes on what the Pelicans are doing. You know, of course, Rondo did what he did, he gave him 5 minutes to make a decision on were they going to match the money that LA was going to match him. But of course, the DeMarcus Cousins debacle that turned out to be pretty bad, which they offered them $40 million. He ultimately chose to take a $35 million pay cut to ride the coattails of Steph Curry and the rest of those guys out there in Golden State. And we were kind of left a little barefaced, but Dale Dim's credit, he made an acquisition to pick up a few Pelicans. Julius Randle, one of the first, Elfrid Payton first, and then Julius Randle. And we was thinking, you know, we talk about this stuff all the time on the show, and we were trying to figure out just, you know, what Julius Randle is. A tough guy. He's strong. We know what he brung when he was LA. What method, what manner would Julius Randle be used in Elvin Gentry's offense? I mean, would he be primarily used at the 5 in the center capacity or at the 4? What's your thinking on that?
I think for the most part, they're going to try to have him defend 4s. I think that they liked the way that Anthony Davis was able to kind of control the paint toward the second half of last season, the way that he really blossomed playing that center position. You know, you probably know as well as anybody, for years Davis was so taken aback by the idea of being a center. He didn't want to be a center. He thought that if he was a center, I mean, all he was going to do is bang up against 7-footers all day who are huge and just get knocked around. And it turns out the league really isn't like that anymore, and that once he actually settled in to covering 5s, it's just not that big of a deal, and it's not that big of an adjustment for him. He's significantly more athletic than all of them. Now he's just as strong as most of them. And you don't have the Dwight Howards of the world in there, so that allows Davis to patrol the low post where he is probably the best guy in the NBA doing it, and will allow Julius Randle to kind of stick on the 4s, and he'll get some help from Davis on the other side, depending on opponents. But I do, you know, if you want to call 4-5, it really is just who they cover, because offensive, it really doesn't matter at all who's the 4, who's the 5. They're going to basically be doing what they do regardless. But I think you'll see Davis more as a traditional covering traditional 5s, I should say.
Okay, because me and a couple of my comrades, DC and the like, on the Pelican postgame report, we basically was saying, you know, and I got kind of upset in some previous shows because I don't like to see AD guarding guys like Rudy Gobert or big brutes like Steven Adams and guys like that just kind of beat AD up in the post. I was like, well, can we get somebody else or kind of rotate another guy in there so he don't have to take that punishment? Understand him switching on a guy to cover him, but just like getting them beat up against Rudy Gobert or Steven Adams and guys like that kind of like, that kind of makes them less effective, don't you think?
I mean, it certainly is a little wear and tear. And you'll see him switch on and off. And you got to also realize they're really hopeful Julius Okafor puts on a nice display in training camp and can kind of gobble up some of those minutes to where it's not always Davis and Randle on the court together. You'll have kind of a combination to where you can occasionally have some traditional 5 out there. But really, you're going to have minutes where it's Randle and Mirotic. You're going to have minutes where it's AD and Randle. You're going to have minutes where it's AD and Mirotic. So you're always going to have somebody who's kind of out of position covering those fives.
Right.
I think AD is significantly better at it than Julius Randle is. He's obviously significantly better at it than Nico Mirotic is.
Yes.
But if they can get someone to just play 10 to 15 minutes of traditional five like Okafor could do,
right,
I think that would go a long way in helping them.
Okay, thank you for that, Scott. That's very interesting. Another addition that the team made was Elfrid Payton. Now, Elfrid Payton's from down here. He's from Gretna. He came home. I mean, it was a smart move. It didn't cost the Pelicans a lot of money. He's a big guard that could play defense. He attacks the basket pretty well. I looked at some of the statistics, Scott. He shoots around the same percentage at the three-point line as our former point guard, Julius Randle. So, I mean, I had a lot of debates with guys. Of course, he can't match Rondo's experience. And of course, very few point guards and that can are as cerebral with the game as Rajon Rondo is. But in your opinion, what does Elfrid Payton bring to the Pelicans, and can he excel in this wide open Elvin Gentry offense?
Yeah, and that's the bet they're making. Which is that Del Dep's always liked him, and Del Dep's always envisioned him playing in an up-tempo offense. And he felt that when this is as low as his value is ever going to get. I mean, he was traded for a second-round pick, in the spring at the trade deadline to Phoenix. Right. He did nothing really in Phoenix because he was playing on one of the worst teams in the NBA, maybe the worst team in Suns franchise history. Right. There just wasn't much out there for him. And so the fact is, Pelicans didn't have a whole lot of money. They liked him, and they thought he could fit in well, and he was a good insurance policy whether or not Rondo returned. He'd either be a really good backup point guard or a great third guard, or he would be a starting point guard who can kind of fill in if they weren't able to bring Rondo back. And they think he fits perfectly in the system. He will tell you that he is very excited to play up tempo. I think almost everybody in that position is excited to play in this system because it is so point guard heavy and kind of relying on it. The difference is the issue is that they were so willing to just give the keys to Rondo last year.
Right.
He's so experienced. He was such a winner. He really knew what everybody on the floor was supposed to be doing, not just what he was supposed to be doing, what everyone was supposed to be doing at all times. And I don't think you get that right now from Elfrid Payton. And he's going to need help, and you're going to need Drew Holiday to really kind of take that role, which is to kind of steer this offense, to kind of make sure that it's always going, because a lot of times, and Drew admitted it often, which was they would get slowed down just naturally through the course of a 48-minute game. You get slowed down at times where you're taking it out your own basket, you're taking it out, and you kind of walk it up the floor. And Rondo was always really good at saying, like, no, that's not who we are. We don't have any advantage when we play that way. We have to keep moving. And they're not going to get that most likely from Elfrid Payton. They're going to need to get it from Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis as well. You will also clearly be a major part of that, but that's going to be the biggest thing they miss, is that they can't just kind of hand over the keys to Rondo or hand over the keys to Payton the way they did with Rondo and say, go. Because that was, I mean, you can ask Chris Finch, you can ask Alvin Gentry, they didn't need to really coach Rondo all that much. Right. They kind of just let him run the offense, and a lot of times he was in the huddle drawing up the plays. It was a lot of it was Coach Rondo, which you are also losing. So right. There are some intangible areas they are going to miss as far as just on the ball and that kind of stuff. They're very similar players, Rondo and Payton, and I think Payton probably has a higher upside now than Rondo does at this point. So I think you're losing a little bit, but you also certainly made a very good value play in Payton. I don't think they could have gotten a better point guard to fill that role for what they're paying Elfrid Payton.
Absolutely, Scott. Definitely tremendous value. It's a one-year contract. It's basically a prove-it deal. Playing in his hometown. It's a great, wide-open offensive system that Coach Gentry is running. Just seems like perfect sense for him. Let me ask you this little sidebar question on that, Scott. Do you think Elfrid Payton probably will have the best year of his career as a Pelican? What do you think about that?
I would have a hard time seeing that not happen.
Okay.
The same way if you were a quarterback playing, quarterback in the Browns, and then all of a sudden you become a quarterback for the Rams, you got a lot of better pieces around you, even if you're not any better. Your team's your numbers are gonna look a lot better because he played for terrible Magic teams, and that Phoenix team was just a carcass last year by the time he got to it. So being able to run the floor and have, as your head's up coming across the half-court line, you've got Anthony Davis cutting to the basket and Drew Holiday ready to slash from the three-point line, and Julius Randle, staying at the block. How is that not, going to make you a better point guard?
Absolutely.
At least make you look like a better point guard. So it's an enviable role that he's in. I think a lot of guys would like that spot. And Rondo talked about it often last year about just how many weapons Pelicans had that people didn't totally realize. And I think you're going to see an invigorated Elfrid Payton. And I don't think he's ever gotten a fair shake in the league, and that was what Alvin Gentry had said, and that's why they brought him in at midnight. He was the first guy they went after before they even went after Cousins again or went after Rondo again. They had Elfrid Payton in there at 11 o'clock in the facility, pitching him and kind of going through the numbers and showing him who, here's Nico Mirotic in the corner, here's Drew Holiday from the wing, here's Etuan Moore, Darius Miller. Like, these are all guys that are going to make you better. And he said it was not that being the hometown is not what drove the decision. It was a strictly basketball decision.
Wow.
And he's fortunate that it happens to be in his hometown. I think he appreciates that opportunity. But he said it multiple times. He's like, I didn't come here because it says New Orleans. Because I came here because this is the best basketball opportunity for me. And I think that's a mature move, and I think it's a good fit on both sides.
Yeah, that's definitely sounds like a good move for him. We're talking to Scott Kushner, beat writer for the Advocate. Scott, Frank Jackson to me is an enigma. I mean, during the this past summer league, that first game, I mean, he looked absolutely fabulous. I mean, he was absolutely explosive, everything like that. But the injuries, oh my goodness, the injuries. This poor guy is almost like he's snake bitten. What is his status? And beyond that, what do the Pelicans honestly think they can get out of Frank Jackson?
Well, they'd like to see him play a full game.
Yes, indeed.
At this point, it took a red shirt year last year. They kept thinking he was going to come back over and over again. It looked like he was ready, and it just that foot never got all the way back. And he was completely healthy entering summer league. And when you talk to the coaches over there, they, like you said, it was that 10 minutes he played in that first half of the first summer league game. Everyone was like, oh, okay, this guy is not just, shooting the ball and spotting up, but he is clearly faster than everybody else on the court.
Right.
He's got a great bounce, all that kind of stuff. The problem right now is what the Pelicans really need is a backup point guard, because you have Etuan Moore, you have Ian Clark coming off, potential guards you can use to fill out the rotation. But neither of those guys really are good handling the ball. And you need someone who's kind of going to be that point guard. And you can't really put the ball in Frank Jackson's hands at this point for 10 to 15 minutes a game, which is what they need. Because they'd like to play Holiday and Payton for as many minutes as they can together, not having to stagger them. And so they're looking at point guards right now, and they've got some guys coming in for training camp, Darius Morris, Tyron Wallace, guys who they think can help out. And we'll see where Frank Jackson kind of fits into that. They love his athleticism. They love everything kind of physical traits about him, but they're not at the point, I think, where you can play a complete rookie who really has very little experience and have him kind of take the ball. I think by March, maybe even by January, that he's going to be a much more significant contributor, but they want to make sure that he's ready for it before they just say, okay, you're our backup point guard. Here's our bench lineup, which is Frank Jackson, Etuan Moore, Ian Clark, Nico, and Julius, and say, there's the five. You guys go ahead. They're not ready to do that yet. But he's definitely a great option for them going forward. And he's a guy that they expect to grow into the role and expect to be, by the time the season ends, to be a much bigger contributor than maybe when it begins.
Absolutely. I would love to see it, like the few little minutes that we've seen of the kid plays, man. I mean, he's explosive. He's unlike any other point guard that they have on the team. And I would love to see him completely healthy and just fulfilling his potential with the team. So, I mean, man, wow.
Yeah, he's also a guy, he reminds me a lot of Drew in his makeup, his personality, that kind of thing too, which they really like.
Okay.
Soft-spoken, quiet guy, goes about his business, is not, talking a lot of trash and that kind of stuff, and is very serious about his body and all those kinds of things. So they're all good signs for Frank Jackson going forward.
Right. I hope we can all see it soon and we can get all through the rain and get back to the sunny days and we can get some real good basketball out of Mr. Frank Jackson. We're talking to Scott Kushner from The Advocate, Pelican beat writer. And one of the biggest questions that we always encounter, the Pelicans wing situation, hasn't been solved, hadn't had a solid wing player, in my opinion, since Trevor Ariza was here. We have a rotation of people that they're bringing in. Of course, Solomon Hill was here. He turned out not to be, he didn't work out in that capacity. This year, we've brought in people, Troy Williams. We have a couple of two-way players, Gerald Green's brother, Garland Green. You got Blewett and a couple other guys that's here to play it. Of course, Darius Miller gets mixed in there as well. I don't know what you would consider him to be a person to solve that position. But let me ask you this. What do you think about the pecking order of the small forwards, I guess I could say wing players, because I guess we getting to the point we almost positionless basketball. But what do you think about the pecking order of the wings that the Pelicans have? What would be your pecking order in terms of the wing players on the Pelican staff?
Yeah, the biggest issue, and I completely agree with you, Trevor Ariza is the last good wing they've had, and he wasn't, if you look at his numbers, two of his worst seasons actually came when he was in New Orleans.
Wow.
So I don't know what it is about that building that makes guys who are 6'7" or 6'8" be bad. But yeah, he was comparatively, he was a great wing for the Pelicans, but he was not, he wasn't as good as he was with the Lakers, nor as good as he was with the Rockets and the Wizards. So if you look at this year's roster, it's really hard to tell. And, I spoke to Troy Williams and Kenrich Williams and Garland Green, and those guys all kind of said they came to New Orleans because Del Demps essentially told them, like, look, we're going to have a tryout for the last wing spot. Like, you guys are going to – it's very upfront, and it's, you guys are all going to be here. You're all going to play. Whoever plays better is going to win the job, and that's the end. Now, the problem is not so much the bottom rotation. Troy Williams should probably get that spot. He's probably the most athletic of that group and has the best upside. The problem is that Solomon Hill is a guy they gave a whole bunch of money to shore up that position because they felt like they didn't have anybody who could defend a 6'8" guy, and he did pretty well that first year of covering the Kawhi Leonards and that group, the Kevin Durant. That's a really tough job on a daily basis. They really just got him to play defense and to occasionally hit a three. But he lost his athleticism completely last year after that hamstring injury. He was certainly being overpaid before that anyway. But then once you saw him come back those last 12 games and play some spot minutes in the playoffs, it's really hard to envision a future where he is the guy coming, in the starting lineup, and particularly in the finishing lineup. They need some help there, and I don't think they're going to get it until you see a midseason trade. I think that is going to be where they shore up that position. I think that's the strategy at this point, which is to kind of wait until some of these teams fall off a little bit. So it's really hard to trade during the preseason because everybody thinks they're going to be good, or at least better than, everybody has a little bit of optimism bias about themselves. Once you get into the meat of the season, particularly at the trade deadline, which is about, the midway point or 60% of the way through the season, it's pretty obvious that some teams are not going to make the playoffs. And so at that point, you can maybe package some guys that allow for a salary dump for them and go get a good player to take off a good team, or take off a bad team.
Right.
And that is, you saw it happen 2 years ago to get DeMarcus Cousins. You saw it last year to get Nikola Mirotic. It usually is going to cost you a first-round pick, and it's going to probably throw in some guys who aren't major contributors, but you can get someone who can help on a short-term basis, and that's what they need. I mean, everybody knows. I think at this point they were talking to Atlanta about Kent Bazemore. They've talked to Washington about Otto Porter. There's guys out there who are not playing for great teams, who could be good fits, who right now the price is too high, but as the season goes along, that price in a trade talk might dip. And so that's kind of a hope from Del Demps' perspective. And it has worked out for him the last 2 years. I mean, they've certainly got, even with DeMarcus Cousins leaving, they got good value for a guy who's an all-star starter. And certainly for Nikola Mirotic, they gave like the 20th pick. I think that was more than worth it, considering that he went ahead single-handedly won some playoff games for him. So I would say that's a strategy. Otherwise, they're going to try to get Darius Miller a shot in that role, but he really just can't. He's not quick enough defensively, but he can stretch the floor on offense, which is just as important.
Thank you, Scott. That'll do it for the first segment of the show. We're about to go into our first break here. When we come back on the side of the break, we'll finish talking to the Advocate's New Orleans Pelican beat writer, Scott Kushner, about the Pelicans' upcoming hopes of improving the team and more insight from the insider. We come back on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Pelican Post-Game Report on the PRO Media Network. Stick with us.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
What's up, Sports World? The PRO Media Network is on a mission to reach 10,000 subscribers. So besides our regular programs like the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, the Pelican Post-Game Report, Rapid Fire TSC, and others, we will be expanding out and offering other content like movie, anime, and gaming reviews for your entertainment. So if you enjoy our content, please donate at our Patreon page. Also subscribe, comment, and share. And help the PRO Media Network reach 10,000 subs. Peace.
What's up, Sports World? It's Big Q from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Talking to you about the website, theposhlifestyle.com. That's right, poshlifestyle.com. A great website where you can get great products at great prices. They sell organic herbs, vitamins, supplements, water filters for your home, EMF and cell phone radiation protection, healing magnetics and healing crystals, personal protection devices like cell phones, stun guns, and mace sprays, organic deodorants, shampoos, soaps, toothpaste, and more. They also sell 10A grade Brazilian hair. 10A music is available now. All kind of the latest downloadable mixtapes. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to theposhlifestyle.com. That's the Posh Lifestyle, life spelled with a Y, LYFD, style.com. Put in the Sports Coma for the 10% discount on your purchase. It's a win-win. So get your mind and body right with the Posh Lifestyle.
You're listening to the Pelicans Post-Game Report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
For all things Pelicans, you're listening to the Pelican Post-Game Report on the PRO Media Network. And in this segment, we're going to continue to keep talking to Pelican insider Scott Kushner about the state of the Pelicans. Here we go. Nikola Mirotic, where does he fit in that situation? I mean, because tell me if you agree with me or not on this one, Scott. Nikola Mirotic, in my opinion, is probably the best small forward the team has. I know he's not the fastest guy. He's an effort guy. The guy dives on the floor. He hits. I mean, he's unconscious when shooting a three. Even when he's missing a three, he gets to the basket. I mean, some of these games, his energy and effort is just amazing to me. I mean, when his game is not there, he simply wills himself into the game. You know, what is his role in terms of helping them solve, I guess temporarily or whatnot, that wing position, or where does he play? Is what I'm getting about him to. What position does he play with this team going into it?
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out because I don't, just based on what I've seen and talking to some guys around there's not a real firm belief that he can play next to Davis and Randle for extended minutes.
Wow.
So you're kind of in the boat where, maybe you can finish a game with him, play those last 2 minutes, something like that. but he's not athletic enough to cover threes. He's big enough to cover fours, but he's not athletic enough to cover the, like I mentioned before, the Kawhi Leonards of the world.
Right.
Those guys are really, hard to stay in front of for someone like Nico. I think you saw it against Golden State. He had, it became a liability in some ways on defense. Everyone's a liability against Golden State on defense.
That's true.
But yeah, it's really hard to think of him out having to cover the perimeter and cover the perimeter for a guy with the ball in his hands. I think he could get exposed there, and then so you'd have to try to maybe shade Anthony Davis over there, and then you're losing Anthony Davis at the rim. So it's hard to play those three guys in extended minutes together. I think the way they're looking at it instead is that there is going to be, for all 48 minutes of the game, there will be some combination, unless there's foul trouble, some combination of Davis, Randle, Mirotic. So they will play to where two of the three of them will always be on the floor. And that they think is a huge advantage. You saw that, last year with Cousins and Davis. One of them was always on the floor.
Right.
And they were hoping Mirotic would be the third guy there. They were trying to trade for him when Cousins was healthy. And so I think this is a similar type of pattern. Now, if Nico can prove that he can do it in the preseason, they're going to give him every opportunity. They'd like to close games. No doubt their best five guys, certainly the best four guys, no doubt on the team, are Holiday, Davis, Mirotic, Randle. How you get those four on the floor at the same time, and who is the fifth piece, and who covers who, is tough. And they've had that problem before. If you remember, they had the Tyreek Evans, Eric Gordon, Drew Holiday, and they all kind of did the same thing.
That's right.
It was like, how do you get all these guys on the floor at the same time? And the question was they couldn't defend a lot. The answer was they couldn't defend a lot of teams. Right. So they have a similar problem this year, that you want to get those three guys together. But it's not necessarily an easy solution. I think it'll be a really big storyline of the preseason. I think it'll be an increasingly important storyline if they are not able to finish games well because they don't have pieces that necessarily fit. But at the moment, they're really optimistic on the idea that having at least two of those three guys at all times on the court will give them a major advantage throughout the game.
No doubt about it, man. That's a good problem to have, to be honest with you. Those are fantastic pieces. Drew Holiday, the way he played out of worldly this past season. Anthony Davis. Nico was absolutely fabulous as well. And Julius Randle is just a brute. I mean, he's an absolute brute down there, super strong. And he played well against the Pelicans. Last year, he had some pretty good games against the Pelicans. Every time he seemed to play the Pelicans, he puts up good numbers against us. And it just made sense for him to come on here and be a Pelican.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Jahlil Okafor. That's a very curious signing, Scott, because a lot of people didn't see much out of him. I remember his first season with Philadelphia. The guy averages 17 points and 7 rebounds, 17 and a half points, 7 rebounds like that. Then all of a sudden, a couple seasons later, he had some injuries or whatnot. Then he wasn't a good fit up there anymore. And then they traded him and all this kind of stuff. But the guy is like a top 5 pick. His offensive game, to me, he seems like more of an offensive center than he is defense, but he did get 7 rebounds in there. What do the Pelicans see? They've been trying to get Jahlil Okafor for some time. They've been interested to get him. They finally get him on this super cheap deal. What is the thought process in the building about Jahlil Okafor and his contribution to the team?
Yeah, I think they have these long been a fascination back when they were trying so hard to get a traditional center next to AD. They talked to Dwight Howard. They talked to anybody who was kind of on the trading block as a 5. And as the game has withered away, the traditional center, those guys' value has dropped tremendously in the last 2 years. Right. So as an Okafor for really nothing. I mean, they are paying him a partial guarantee. They can cut him whenever they feel like it in training camp or in the preseason. And he's got, he's clearly has raw ability on offense. He has the size. And if you look at, just what you've seen this offseason, he's certainly getting stronger. And he was not in a good situation in Philadelphia as far as they were trying to build a whole thing around a guy who played his position, which was Joel Embiid. Right. And to draft both those guys. They couldn't really coexist. And Jaleel not only got hurt, on top of that, he started to loaf a little bit, and then was kind of put in the doghouse by the organization when they switched executives. And now he's, you're talking about a guy who's certainly talented, getting, catching on for nothing. I mean, his next step was going to be going to China. Wow. And so you've got a very, you would think, a very motivated version of Jaleel Okafor who will be showing up for training camp and who doesn't really need to win a contentious spot on the roster. I mean, Agenta theoretically will be back for camp. They'll probably have him around, but I don't think he's much of a threat. And so they just need to see kind of a pulse out of Jaleel for him to earn that spot, prove that they need a bigger five that can go alongside them. And I think it really makes all the sense in the world for both sides to make it work out. But if he shows up the way that he showed up in Brooklyn last year, and doesn't look motivated, and doesn't look prepared, and doesn't look like he's ready, there's no risk. They just go ahead and cut him. Right. So I think it's a really good move, and I think it could help them in staggered minutes, 10 to 15 minutes a game, which is really all they really need him for. And it would help Anthony Davis, to help Julius Randle. So smart move and a potential major positive.
Right, absolutely. If we can get half of what he produced when he was in his good mindset in Philadelphia, I mean, we have a tremendous talent. The guy is 6'11", 7 feet tall. I mean, he his problem, a lot of people say he can't move that well like Moose Monroe, I guess, but he has offensive game. If anything, I watch footage on him. I see mostly he's an offensive-minded big center to me, but his defense is the only thing I see that might be lacking, but maybe that can be cured by different teaching here. We got Urban here. Maybe he can put something to whisper something in his ear to kind of help him out with that, But he adds a length to the bench, definitely. And I was like last year, I was like, man, we need some more length on that bench. I mean, you got guys like Check Diallo, 6'9", but I always seen that the length. We have Etuan Moore and Ian Clark. Those guys are guards, but more like off guards, but undersized off guards. I mean, we had the smallest small forward probably in the history of the NBA playing with Etuan Moore there. So, I mean, even that, some of the things that we had off the bench, some of our guys were kind of undersized team when you move beyond Anthony Davis and when DeMar Cousins was there. But we kind of see him. And, of course, we talk about Alexis Ajenka, but he's there, but he's not there. He was injured all of last year. So I was like, why don't we get a big guy on the bench that can kind of come in and kind of help out against other bigs or whatnot? And I always say, I just like the fact that they have that length there. Scott, Cheikh Diallo is an interesting character to me. I call him the poor man's Dennis Rodman. He kind of reminds me, he gets the rebound, then he runs up the court like a deer, and then he raises his arm up like he's about to catch a pass. So, I mean, I really like Cheikh Diallo. I think he's terrific. He comes in there and gives him all the energy and effort. The guy's lightning in the bottle. Tell me, what do you think his role is going to be moving into this season? He kind of seemed like he was restricted by Coach Gentry. What is his role moving forward? Is he going to be included more into what the team is doing, or possibly he might be a piece that they try to move when they try to clear out Solomon some way down the line?
He could certainly be on the move. It wouldn't surprise me if he ended up moving. I don't think his value is terribly high at this point, but okay. I don't think his role is going to be significantly different than it was last year. I don't think he's done much to change it at this point. Okay. He is an energy guy. He's very helpful off the bench. He's helpful grabbing those rebounds, like you said. He plays fast. The problem is he struggles to defend without fouling. He struggles to kind of understand how to run the floor offensively, and that, like you mentioned, how many possessions is he running? There's a point guard with the ball running right behind him, and he's got his hand up right in the middle of the paint. That's just going. There's no way he can catch the ball. He's running, full speed, and everybody's going out. But so the little things like that, where and with age, you'd think some of that would help. He didn't have a terrific summer league or anything like that, which I think they were hoping, coming back for a third summer league, that he would have a really good outing, and I think that was a little disappointing for a lot of the guys around that coaching staff. But I mean, I don't see his role growing significantly unless there's injuries. I just don't see where he cracks the rotation. Okay. in that regard to do that, but I think he will be a piece. I think you'll see him play, but I think it'll largely be the role he was in last year, and hopefully for his sake, it's just a little bit more productive in the same role, which I think is perfectly fine. I mean, he's a guy that had not played at all, basically for 2 years, and because he played in the G League, and then he played very briefly at Kansas, and so to be able to get back to high level basketball last year was important for him. After a lot of DNPs, he was able to get some real playing time, and I think he's a helpful piece, but he's not anyone I see this year getting major minutes unless there's some problems with this team.
We're talking to Scott Kushner, the beat writer for the New Orleans Pelicans, and he filling us in, dropping game on us, man, educating us on what's going on with our Pelicans. Scott, I got a couple of more questions for you, buddy. AD's contract situation, of course, we get a little nervous here, some of the true Pelican fandom, as AD's contract is getting close to ending here. Of course, he's eligible for that Supermax deal. When do you foretell that the Pelicans are going to get that done? Because I hate to see him in Boston Green, to be honest with you. That's all the rumors that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to offer to him the second they can, which will be next summer. They'll offer him that full Supermax contract, and the question is whether or not he's going to accept it. So far, unless I am missing someone, I think everyone who has been offered that has taken it.
Yes.
That being Steph Curry and James Harden and Russell Westbrook, I think have all taken that Supermax deal.
Absolutely.
Now, whether or not Anthony Davis is different, I don't know. I know, he is openly, he's been pretty straightforward to say that the thing that matters to him at this point now is winning. Right. He doesn't really care about the other stuff that goes along with this. He understands he's a franchise guy. He understands he's told about everything that happens. There's no rift between him and management or him and coaching. He's a pretty, for the level of superstar he is, he's a pretty laid-back guy. But he wants to win, and he doesn't want to spend his whole career, basically doing what Kevin Garnett did in Minnesota, which was trying to pull a team that was not good enough and try to get them to a level that they couldn't get to, and then have to, spend the last 3 or 4 years of his career trying to, scrap for a title somewhere like Garnett did. Right. So they need to prove to him that they can build a roster around him that's good enough to win, and it would go a long way this year if they could basically do what they did, if they could win 50-plus games, if they could get into the second round again, and they could maybe be a little bit more competitive with Golden State or more competitive with Houston. There's a lot on the line there. I think ultimately he's going to take the money because it's so much money.
Yes.
And even if it requires him eventually getting traded to get out, he will, but he can't make that kind of money anywhere else. And he's not someone who I think is just going to risk, I think it was an extra $15 million, $20 million a year. Sorry, not per year. I think that the contract as a whole is like $40 million more.
Right.
Because there's an extra year attached. I don't think he's going to risk that. But that's just my gut. I know he wants to win. I know he wants to put pressure on the organization to do things to win. And he, whether or not he feels they're responding is going to be the biggest question of this entire season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I definitely don't think he'll end up passing up that kind of money, and I most certainly hope that he's not the first to reject it. AD said that he wants to finish his career with the team, but we'll see. I like the moves that the Pelicans are making. They're being competitive, but our competition are making some serious movements. Houston, my goodness, look what Houston's doing. Even Dallas, San Antonio, they've got a problem. They ship out Leonard and then end up getting DeRozan, so we have another issue to deal with there. So, but let me ask you this, Scott, about dealing with some of these guards. I've been following the recent acquisition of some of these guards the Pelicans are picking up. I mean, guys like Tyrone Wallace from the Clippers. The Pelicans issued them out a contract. Of course, the Clippers could sign them back. I don't think they will. And then, of course, it's Darius Morris. I see your tweet here about Darius Morris coming in to attend camp. Are these guys actually options for the team? Are they serious about these guys, or are you thinking these just camp bodies?
No, I don't think they're camp bodies. I think they are basically your Frank Jackson insurance, which is to say they want to have a point guard who they can somewhat rely upon, who can come in and play, a few minutes a game off the bench if needed, if Frank isn't ready to go. And they don't know if they can count on him at this point. So they need another guard because they don't want to put the ball in the hands of Ian Clark. They don't want to put the ball in the hands of E'Twaun Moore. And they'd like to maximize the minutes of Holiday and Payton together. Right. So they'd like another guard. That'll be, the 15th guy on the roster is the 15th guy on the roster. It's not that big a deal. But between the two big competitions of camp, the three big competitions of camp, will be that point guard spot between Morris and Wallace. That'll be sort of something to watch, and Frank Jackson in there as well to see if he can just, put it all together. He can take it. The small forward spot with the three guys we mentioned earlier, Williams, and Green, and technically Blewett, although he's going to be a two-way regardless. And then whether or not Sheila Okafor can grab a spot. And they're going to have to make a decision somewhere in between there as to who they want. But it does make for a more interesting preseason than I think a lot of teams, and it's even in the last few years here, they've had 14, 15 guys that are locked in. They don't have that right now. The Pelicans have got, probably 13 guys that you could, say that they're going to get a spot. And the rest are kind of up for grabs. So it's a little bit interesting. And, I mean, they're going to play a bit. I don't think it'll be, any Wallace or Morris. I don't know those guys are going to make a huge difference one way or the other, but it is something to watch during camp.
Final question is, what is your prediction? I don't know if you give predictions, Scott. I don't know if you want to move away from that, buddy. But what is your call? What do you think about how many wins the team's going to get this year? Are we going to kind of trend a bit past what we did last year, which was outstanding to me, or do you think we're going to just kind of go up under that a bit? What's your thinking on the win total for this upcoming season?
I don't tend to give a lot of predictions. Vegas, I think, has it at 45.5. Okay. Which is, the West is just brutal. Yeah. It is. Now, I think they'll probably be a couple games better than that. I think 48 wins is probably what you could hope for. Right. I think that, somewhere between the 4 and the 6 in the West, I think is probably as good as they can ask right now. A lot's going to depend, though, on what move they make in the middle of the season to get a wing. Because until that happens, I don't know what this team's real potential is. Because that is, we saw last year, this team kind of tread water until January. Then they had a pretty good January, and then had a tremendous March and April. Yeah, they were a different team, the second half of the year. So it's just hard to tell until you really start seeing them go. I think the 45 wins might be a little soft. I would take, I'll give you that'll be my prediction. If I had to bet, I would take the over Pelicans wins, but I don't really know where they'd land, and I don't really know the exact spot at this point.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that, Scott. Appreciate you, man, actually making that call, buddy. Scott, we appreciate you at the Pelican Post Game Report for joining in with us, man, and talking Pelicans. And you have a great wealth of basketball knowledge. To all of Pelican fandom out there, we like to say thank you for coming on. And could we possibly have you to grace the show in maybe in the future, perhaps?
Yeah, we'll see. Things get a little bit busier as the season gets here, but I'm sure I can squeeze it some time.
That's right. Well, thank you, Scott. We're talking to Scott Kushner, the Pelican beat writer for The Advocate. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you for coming on the show, my friend, and have a blessed day.
Absolutely.
That'll do it for the show today. Thank you guys for joining us on the Pelican Post Game Report on the PRO Media Network. If you enjoyed the show, please donate at our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/the PRO Media Network. Go join all of our social media pages. The links are in the section below, and also support our sponsors. From me and the crew at the Pelican Post Game Report, peace.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
There's a reason this office canceled Casual Friday. Why this guy is getting cut out of the will. And why sibling rivalries really exist. There's a reason he's always Employee of the Month. And why no shirt and no shoes is no problem. There's a lot of reasons to be a fan, but only NBAstore.com has all the gear.
What's up, world? This is DC from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Have you ever been sitting in front of your computer screen, or in traffic, tired, lacking energy, feeling drained? Did you know there are electromagnetic fields or EMF waves all around you that cause this disease? Get it? Dis-ease? Luckily here at Posh Lifestyle, you can get your EMF protection. They have pendants, the shell-dyed bricks, cubes, and pyramids. Check out the PoshLifestyle.com. That's life spelled with a Y. PoshLifestyle.com for all your health needs. So get your mind and body right with a Posh Lifestyle.
Clear, clean, great-tasting filtered water. We're all thirsty for it. But in the U.S. alone, an estimated 2.5 million plastic bottles are added to the environment each year in search of the perfect drink of water. There has to be a better solution, and there is. Crystal Quest, a leader in the manufacturing of water filtration technology, has been providing clean, drinkable water for 20 years. With a deep commitment to providing the highest quality products and excellent customer service, Crystal Quest has been recognized by such leaders as Consumers Digest, Dr. Oz, and Colin Ingram's The Water Drinking Book. Providing cost-effective, reliable water filtration systems for residential, commercial, and industrial customers worldwide, offering our customers the cleanest and most environmental-friendly drinking water at a rating of high purity. With Crystal Quest's water filtration technology, you can rest assured that your water will be crystal clear. Contact our network of authorized distributors and join our thousands of satisfied customers.
Just log into thePoshLifestyle.com. Once again, that is thePoshLifestyle.com.
You're listening to the Pelicans postgame report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.